What's going on, DJBooth.net? This is your boy DJ Blaze, and I'm kicking it in the lab to bring you a full video review of the Denon DNMC6000 digital DJ controller. And this one is brought to you in conjunction with our DJ equipment partners, American Musical Supply. You can hit them up at www.americanmusical.com, and they can come through for you for all your DJ equipment needs. So, this one was really hard to come by. It's hard to get in contact with Denon to get a review unit. So the next best thing, we hit those guys up, and they were able to send us off the unit very nice and swiftly. And big shout out to you guys over there at American Musical Supply. So check out the video. We'll start off with the overall impressions and setup section of the review. And basically the overall impressions that I have of the Denon DNMC6000 are very good. This is an excellent DJ controller. It's built really solid. It's all steel construction. It's a complete and compact system. I like the size of this compact system. I can actually throw this in a bag, and still it's not so tight to where I can't control all the controls that I need to. I heard some people say that it was a little too mushed in for them, but once you understand what everything does and how everything is controlled, the layout is very intuitive, it's very easy to use, and it's very easy to catch on to. As you can see, I have the deck saver for the Tractor Control S4, and the S4 is quite a bit bigger in almost every dimension when it comes to comparison with the MC6000. But there are some things that the S4 can do that this cannot do, and vice versa. The MC6000 also has functions that the S4 cannot do. But moving along, it's a complete compact system, and I'm just blown away by the build quality that Denon has been exhibiting over the past 10 years or so, and this new MIDI controller definitely follows suit. The setup was fairly simple. It comes with Virtual DJ in North America, and in Europe you get the Tractor LE version. But if you're going to get a nice controller like this, you're going to probably want to upgrade to a better software system. So I'm using Tractor Scratch Pro 2, and the mapping and everything is very easy. If you go to the Denon website, you can get the new mapping for Tractor 2, and where you can take full advantage of the sample deck features, your 4 decks of control, your cue functions, your FX, everything lines up very, very nicely to Tractor Pro 2, which is a big plus. Well, setup was very easy. Once again, all you got to do is plug your USB cable in, you plug in your outputs, and then you put your CD in, and the drivers and everything installed. Very simple. Alright, next up we have the inputs and outputs. On the left you see the DC power input, power on-off switch. You have the PC USB input. You also have a PC or Mac switch, depending on whether you're using a PC or a Mac. You have mixing mode, which is either internal mixing mode or PC mixing mode. You have output source switch here. We have a balanced booth output. And we have also a balanced master XLR output. Very nice. It's very good to see, controllers with a bunch of outputs and inputs on them. We also have a master output unbalanced RCA. We have a record RCA output. We have 2 auxiliary inputs, and then we have a line 1 and 2 RCA input that also have a switch, so you can either use phono or line, along with your phono ground post here for your grounds. And there's also 2 microphone inputs, 1 XLR and 1 1/4 inch. And on the front you will see that the microphones have their own dedicated EQs, high, mid, and low, and also an echo effect. You got your headphone 1/4 inch jack in the front. And when you're in your software, you can also use your microphone section up here to control your levels and effects. Okay, next we'll speak about the mixing console portion of the Denon DNMC6000. And just right off the top, the first thing you're thinking about when you're thinking mixing console is the faders. And this is an excellent crossfader. Not exactly sure what type it's in there, but it feels a lot like their higher end crossfader offerings that are in the Denon lineup today. It's very smooth, and it's nice and loose. So I mean, some people may or may not like that, but I like the looseness of it. But it feels like it's going to last a while, and it works with very little resistance. The line faders, however, do have a bit more resistance to them. They feel great, nice for fading and bringing in your next track or your next deck. No complaints there. They're built like they're going to last as well. Next up, we have the knobs. All the knobs on the MC6000 are very solid. They all have like a center click, so you know where you're at within the parameters without necessarily having to see them. And even though it looks pretty tight in here from maybe where you're at, but it does not feel like I'm ever in the way of myself when I'm trying to go through and select different EQs for the tracks or the decks. EQs have full kill capability, no buttons for kill, but you turn it all the way down and it will full kill. You got low, mid, and high for each of your 4 decks, along with a gain control knob. And also above that, you have the selectable line or MIDI switch. Every channel can either be selected to be the line input or the MIDI. And this comes in handy when you want to set up something like the Audio 4 sitting over there in order to play your time code through it. So you can have your 4 decks of control right at your fingertips, along with either 2 vinyl decks or 2 CDJs with time code control, or however flavor you want to mix it up. So these switches up here allow you to adjust whether the deck is going to be controlled through the MIDI software or through the line input on the back. So you can do a combination of throughputs and software. It's a very versatile system because of this feature. Next up, we have the LEDs. Now some people like to have all 4 decks of LEDs showing when they're playing their music or their tracks, because you just want to see at a glance what your levels are. But they have 2 LEDs here, and they can either be set to master, channel 1 and 4, or channel 2 and 3. So you set it how you want to set it to view the tracks. So you can see all the tracks, but you just can't see them all at the same time. Next up, we have the Q section. The Q section is over here. We basically have a volume control knob and then a Q or master pan knob. So you can adjust the level of either you want to hear what's the master or what you're trying to cue via the Q buttons here per each deck. You press the Q button, they'll light up, and that way you'll know that you're in the queue for that track or that deck. They also have the split queue function here, which you can press, that will let one of your headphones play the actual master while your other earphone is playing the track that you're trying to cue. We have booth and master section over here. This is the big oversized master volume knob like that. And then the booth send over here section, you actually have a volume knob, a high, a low, so you can adjust your booth area according to the speakers or the setup that you have there, or what you want to hear more of within the mix. And we also have another selected knob. So say you have your booth set up and maybe you only want to hear what's coming out of channel 1. You can just hear only what's coming out of your channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 or 4, or you can just go for master. Very cool feature with the booth send output. Next up, we have the crossfader controls on the front and the microphone controls. So on the front of the mixer, the crossfader, we have the contour knob here, so you can adjust the slope or the contour of the fader. And we also have switches here, so whether you can select channel 1, 2, 3, or 4 to be on the A side of the fader or on the B side of the fader, or in through mode where the fader doesn't even matter. We also have the microphone section on the front. Again, I told you this earlier, the echo controls. We have the high, mid, and low EQ for each of the 2 mic inputs found on the back.